All right, y'all. Crazy story. I was in the car on Monday, dropping my daughter off at school. My wife walked my daughter inside. I stayed in the car. My son was asleep, so I was chilling, just scrolling on my phone on TikTok as I usually do. I came across this video of somebody reacting to this video that we're about to watch. And you know those really strange, they're stealing our data and they're violating our privacy moments you have when you're watching something or you're saying something and then you magically, quote unquote, see the exact thing pop up on your phone in the form of like an advertisement or something like that. So this is what happened to me. I was on TikTok. I wanted to watch the full video of this because I seen a clip. I went to YouTube. As soon as I opened up YouTube, this video was right there front and center on my home screen. I didn't even have to search it, didn't even have to scroll up or down. It was sitting right there. So that was the first part that was kind of creeping me out. So I was like, all right, let me watch this and see what's going on. I watched this video. Number one, it's absolutely heartbreaking on multiple levels. My heart breaks for her children. My heart breaks for her too. Now, I'm not sure what the overwhelming perspective is on this situation. I would assume that one could say that she entered into this marriage and so that there has to be some accountability on her part as well. But you know what? As truthful as that may be, it sounds as if she was greatly deceived by this man. Now, I'm going to spoil it a little bit for you. Just because somebody tells you that they're a God-fearing man, that they're a Christian, that they believe in God, that they have faith, that doesn't really mean anything. Because the Bible speaks about men who masquerade as God-fearing men, as men of faith, just to deceive women. So it's so important for you to establish a relationship with God first and allow him to be your peace in all situations, no matter what. And the reason why I say that is this woman, she's a content creator. I'm not familiar with her content. I'm not the demographic that she makes content for. She makes content essentially helping women and teaching women how to be, quote unquote, high value and how to be trophy wives and how to attract men that will treat them as such and take care of them and provide for them. And that's why I said it's so important for you to have a relationship established with God first so that God can be your peace in any situation. That way you won't chase the material things. You won't chase money. You won't chase somebody who can provide for you because you know that you have a provider in heaven. So you don't need to seek that in a person. If that comes with the person, then that's great. But you don't need to seek that in a person because God is your provider and God is your peace. He is your protector. Now, if God blesses you and leads you and that person to come together and that individual happens to have those attributes, then beautiful. That's a blessing. But you have to be in relationship with God first, firmly rooted, so that he can give you wisdom and discernment and guidance in these situations when you're dating. And now she was in a especially vulnerable position because she was a single mother going into this relationship. She already had children. I'm not sure how many, maybe one or two children. I'm not sure how many, but she already had children before she entered into this marriage. And from what I understand, they got married relatively quickly. So how well could you really know somebody, right? This is what I always say. There's people all around us. There's people all around us for whatever reason that we just give trust to. And I'm not telling you to just walk around and be completely paranoid about everybody, but when you're talking about children, you have to operate with a certain level of skepticism in the relationships that you encounter because you ultimately do not know people. You don't know what these people are into. You don't know what these people do when they go home behind closed door that they don't tell anybody. All you know is what that person is presenting to you, the information that they're giving to you, and the information that you've gathered and obtained from other people who may know that person. That's really all you know. So we have to be careful. But nonetheless, my heart breaks for her children, because her children have gone through a traumatic event that potentially is going to be with them for a lifetime. And, I have faith that God can heal them, and I pray that God does heal them. But nobody wants to see a child go through what she is going to explain, especially not from a person who is supposed to be their protector. Now, I'm going to play this video. I'm going to start at like the 3-minute mark, and we're going to have some conversations. All right.
What every woman should, the type of man that, or type of husband that every woman should aspire to have. And I didn't realize that the person I married was actually going to be my biggest nightmare. So basically, when I first met my husband, as I've already talked about in another video, I think it was my single mom video, I explained, a little bit about how we met. And I really thought that man was my Prince Charming. So when I first met my husband, I thought that he was my Prince Charming. I thought that he was my knight in shining armor, and he portrayed himself to be this amazing, upright, righteous Christian man, and I believed him. I think shortly after we got married, and this is something that I haven't talked about, I started noticing like certain things changed with him, and I just started to see a few things that I didn't like, but I honestly thought that some of these were things that I could get past.
So when I was first watching this video in the car, the text that she wrote on the screen was so small that I missed it. So if you read the screen, this is what happened. What she's saying happened during the first few months of their marriage 4 times. And she stayed. Now, one might ask, why would she stay? And I think as you watch the video more and more, it'll become a little bit more clear. But I think one of the major aspects, and this is what she's going to talk about later on in the video, one of the major aspects, in my opinion, is because she had experienced this type of trauma before in the past. And I think when you go through something like that, it changes things. I'm not going to get too far into it because I've never gone through that, but I could imagine it could change your decision making moving forward in your life in ways that may not make sense to you or me, right? Let's continue.
It was like sad to even say like I could get past some of these things. I don't even know where to start. 6 weeks ago, I was changing my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter, and I noticed that when I changed her, she was red and very sensitive, and immediately my first thought was, did someone touch her? Oh God. Gosh. So I asked her, I said, baby, did somebody touch you? And she ended up saying it was Daddy. I felt like my world ended on that day. My husband wasn't home at the time when she told me, but I knew he would be coming home soon, so all I could do was just say, don't tell him that you told me. And I just instantly started trying to think of how I could get my kids out of the house, because I knew if I confronted him or asked him about it, that he would just lie, and that he would probably just continue to keep doing stuff to her, but just become more covert or more sneaky or whatever. As soon as my husband got home, he was actually picking up the boys from school, my two older boys from school. As soon as he got home, I told him that I was gonna go Halloween shopping with my sister, because I just needed an excuse to get out of the house with all the kids. And I knew if I said something like, oh, I'm going to the grocery store, that it would be suspicious. Like, why am I bringing all the kids and like packing things, like things that we would need and things like that. So going Halloween shopping was the best thing I could think of to just hurry up and get the kids out of the house. I'm sorry, I had to get myself together. So when I got to the hospital, they basically told me that we had to go to another hospital because they didn't do physical exams, like that kind of physical exam there. So a police officer escorted the kids and I to another hospital where they were able to evaluate my daughters. It ended up coming out that he had actually been touching both of my daughters, who are only 2 and 4 years old.
Only 2 and 4 years old. Now, I don't know where this stands from a legal standpoint. I don't know if these claims that she's making have been proven legally, but that's a terrible situation. That's a terrible situation. That's a terrible situation. That's an unimaginable situation. And like I said, I don't know what their opinion is on this. You know, obviously, you're innocent until proven guilty. But just the way that she's explaining it, I don't know if there would be any reason to not believe what she's saying. And I think we're just going to have to see kind of what comes of this story. And honestly, like, I would prefer if it weren't true, because that's terrible for kids to have to go through that at 2 and 4 years old. That's terrible. But it seems like this is something that actually happened. And this is a trauma that they're going to have to deal with for the rest of their life. Let's continue.
It still feels like a dream. Like, when this first happened, I just kept waking up every day and just hoping that this was a dream. Because it's literally my worst nightmare. It's my worst nightmare. I myself am a product of RAPE. That's how I came to be. And was also, abused as a child by a neighbor's husband. And I specifically prayed to God that my children would never, ever, ever have to go through this. And I'm just not quite sure how this happened, why this happened. I just don't know how he was able to get away with it and so sneaky, because with my own trauma, I watch my kids like a hawk. Like, I don't like them sitting on people's laps. None of that. And he knows how much I cannot stand men like him. And to think, like, I couldn't even go to sleep in my own house and know that my children are safe. Just by me going to sleep, my children were left unprotected. So I don't know what the future of this channel is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to change the name or what. Um, yeah.
So I'm reminded of something that my pastor talks about fairly often. I'm not going to play it, but I don't know if y'all remember this story from this guy right here. He was being interviewed and he was asked a question about the certain characteristics that he looks for in choosing victims to assault, specifically children. And one of the things that he mentioned was that he looks for the presence of a father, and he looks for essentially broken families and broken homes and vulnerable women who are looking for help, looking for assistance. And he gains trust with those women and then ultimately assaults their children. And as I said, I don't know exactly what took place. But I was just reminded of that story when listening to this story that we just listened to. Now, as I said, I don't know if he being her husband, I don't know if he has made a statement publicly. I don't know if he has refuted these claims or anything like that. But just something to consider is the nature of her channel and really the nature of her business, which, as I said, is teaching women how to find a husband, essentially. And now her husband did this. For her to fabricate or make up this story is essentially her blowing up her own brand and her own business. So it doesn't really make sense to lie. And I don't see why somebody would lie about this, although we've seen stuff like that in the past. But I say all that to say, this sounds like something that took place, and it breaks my heart that it took place. And I pray healing for her children, healing for her family. And, you know, it's just a reminder, as I said, to put your trust solely in the Lord and lean on him and not your own understanding. And seek God for your protection, for your peace, for your provision, and not a man. And as I said, if God blesses you with a man who wants to do all of those things for you, and you truly feel as if you heard from God and you were confirmed that that person was sent by God, then by all means go for it. But don't do it the other way around. Don't put the person at the top and then God at the bottom, because it's never going to end well, you know? But the fact that he allegedly, you know, took a woman who had already gone through trauma in her life, sexual trauma in her life, and put her through that again, and then took it a step further, a much more sinister step further, and put her children through that, ages 2 and 4, is unimaginable and wicked and demonic, especially from somebody who says that they're a Christian man. Obviously, this is all alleged, but what a terrible situation all around. Let me know what you think. Get in my comments, like this video. I'm out, y'all.